Today, I am delighted to be joined by Elizabeth Boisson. I'm welcoming Elizabeth back. She spoke on the first Conscious Grief series. And today we're going to talk more about helping parents heal, the profound nonprofit, which is helping tens of thousands of parents, and the recent book that the community has just published, which I know is going to reach hundreds of thousands of people. Elizabeth really is an amazingly beautiful human being. She also teaches all types of yoga, as well as yoga for healing grief. So I'm excited to share this interview with you and welcome Elizabeth back. Looking forward to seeing what she has to say. Oh, Elizabeth, it's really so wonderful to welcome you back onto the second series of Conscious Grief. And I know that Irene can't be with us today because we're actually recording this just before Thanksgiving. And so, Irene, we are thinking of you, and you're here with us in spirit. And what's exciting is that we have a new book to talk about. And I have your copy here. You have a copy probably there. Life of Afterlife and Helping Parents Heal, the book. And it's just amazing. I be honest, I haven't read the entire thing, but I've read half the stories. And I'm really so huge congratulations. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary how quickly it came together. So yeah, share with us how you got the inspiration to do it and how it came about.
Well, definitely. First, I want to thank you for having me on again. And again, I'm sorry that Irene is not with us because it's always fun to have her with us. But I would love to tell you about this book because the book itself is pretty amazing just because of the fact that it came together so quickly. I was told by a medium here in the States, he's actually one of our providers on Helping Parents Heal. When I was interviewing with him, he said, "Oh, let's do an interview. I'd like to have Helping Parents Heal get better known. And so come on and we'll talk about Helping Parents Heal." And when we did that, it was so interesting because before we ever started, he told me, "Elizabeth, do you realize that Morgan's here and he's telling me that you're going to write a book about life to afterlife, Mom, Can You Hear Me?" which is the documentary that Craig McMahon did about parents of Helping Parents Heal. And so when he said that, I said, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And he said, "And you're going to do it really soon." And I said, "Okay." And I've had a lot of people tell me that I was going to write a book. And so I always think, okay, that's down the line when I have a little bit more time. Right now, we're planning a conference. We have so much going on in Helping Parents Heal. And to write a book is really it's a big job, but especially when you're wanting to have 20 authors contribute to the book. But this book came together in less than 2 months, and I know that it was guided by the kids. I know that Morgan got them all together and said, "Okay, we need this book to come together," and they did it. And I must say that I feel especially proud and especially good about this book today, because today is Morgan's 33rd birthday in heaven. So I feel like this is kind of my gift to him. I did it, Morgan. I got it done.
Oh, seriously, I'm just so amazed that we're getting to talk on Morgan's birthday as well, and just to really acknowledge him in this conversation. And yes, that he's inspired you and helped you create this. And it's wonderful because I have to apologize because I haven't watched the documentary yet, but there is something so personal about reading the stories and as we're honoring Morgan today on his birthday, that each of these stories from the parents honors their, I love the way that you have printed a photo of each person in the book. That's so special, I think, because there's nothing, we can really feel them even more through a photograph. And as we read these stories, it's just so heartwarming. It really is. I mean, I watched your interview with Suzanne Giesemann that you must have done quite recently, and she joked, didn't she, she said, "Oh, getting together all these tragic stories," and you and Irene both laughed. But tell people who don't know you and the work that you do and why it's so profound. Perhaps you can share about how this book is full of hope.
Well, I would love to. First of all, this book is a really happy book. It's uplifting. And what's interesting is that the documentary that Craig McMahon created was wonderful because it did talk about the signs and the validations that we get from our children. All of us are what we call shining light parents instead of bereaved parents, because we hate the word bereaved and we believe that the light of our children shines through us. And so it was wonderful to interview with Craig, and a lot of us told him some pretty far out stories about how our kids were connecting to us from the other side. And he put some of them in there, but he wanted to hold back just a little bit because he wanted us to be credible. And I understand that he was thinking about doing a Life to Afterlife, Mom, Can You Hear Me 2.0, where he went into some of the bigger signs that we get and kind of explain about that. And instead of doing that, because he's been super busy, he works constantly. He's been doing so many documentaries, and he also does the Spirit Box radio. So anyway, I guess that Morgan just decided that it was time for us to write the book. And the really nice thing about the book is that the parents didn't hold back. They actually got permission from their children, so siblings, to be able to put stories that might seem incredible to some people, but are part of our everyday lives. This is what we call our collateral beauty. And I feel that these kids are sending us signs that are just so complex and so beautiful. And I know that on that interview with Suzanne Giesemann, Laurie Savoy talked about one of those incredible validations. And if you'd like, I would love to just kind of describe one sign that's just so amazing and that makes it so that it's impossible not to believe. Would you like for me to possibly tell about that?
Yes, I would love that.
Well, that sign, and Laurie is the Secretary of Helping Parents Heal. She's a board member as well, and she's been with Helping Parents Heal for a long time. But as I explained in that interview, it was really funny because the first time that I met her, she had heard about Helping Parents Heal probably 2 years before, but she didn't really want to become a part of Helping Parents Heal for a while. We had coffee together. For some very strange reason, we took our driver's licenses out and put them on the table in front of us. And looked at the dates, and we were born exactly the same day, exactly the same year. And I kind of feel like Lori is my soul sister, but she's a medium and I'm not a medium. So she's got that on me. But anyway, she has a beautiful son in spirit, Garrett. She also has two beautiful girls here, Chantal and Kaylee, who are Shining Light siblings, as we call siblings. But anyway, right after his service, and Lori is from Canada, so she has a lot of family members who live in Canada. They were standing at the island in the kitchen, and they had some balloons that were part of the ceremony. And one red balloon came to the island, floated over, and then was floating around the people who were at the island. The people were kind of laughing, and one of the nieces that she has said, "Oh, I think that's Garrett." And so then a nephew who was there said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's not Garrett." And he went over and sat down at a computer further away in the room. And he was working on the computer, and the balloon went floating over to him, tapped him on the back of the head, was kind of moving around on every side of his head. He was like trying to get rid of it. And then the balloon went underneath his arm and popped up right in the middle of his face. So everybody's laughing because they're watching this balloon. This is something that's being watched by a huge group of people. And he said, "Okay, if you're Garrett, then go to the refrigerator and get me a beer." And this balloon started going in the other direction down the hall. There's a special refrigerator that's not in the kitchen, that's back in the back, that has the beer in it. It goes all the way to that refrigerator and sticks itself onto the refrigerator front. So this nephew opens the refrigerator, gets a beer out, and says, "Here's to you, Garrett." And of course, a believer was created by that balloon, which is really a cool story. But that's the kind of magical things that happen all the time for all of us. And all of these different things are talked about in this book. So it's really fun to be able to show to other parents that this happens, and that when it does happen, that we need to be able to recognize these signs and say, "Thank you, send me some more." And our kids get better and better at it.
I think that's such an important point, because often the first response to things can be like, "Oh, that's just me in my head making it up," and we dismiss it. And as you know from all your experience, and as you said, like saying, "Thank you, send me some more." And I feel like I'm going to buy, a stack of these books so that I can give them to people, for them to, read these stories and have this new awareness. And that's what I'm finding in my groups. And I'm always very cautious about not sort of pushing my, you must go and see a medium or anything like that, but opening up the conversations that there is this possibility that we can keep our connection with our loved ones, and that there's an enormous amount of comfort that we can get. Not only that, but we get help. And like this is what's so inspiring about helping parents heal. You always say it's our children that are helping us. You have done and continue to do like extraordinary things in extraordinary timelines. And I just find that is, like you say, because you're getting so much assistance from the other side.
Oh, we're getting so much assistance. And, it's really interesting because they are so grateful to be acknowledged. And so one of the things that I love the most about Helping Parents Heal, and that is the oldest part of Helping Parents Heal, is our tributes. And we do our tributes every morning. I do the tributes. I ask all of the parents to put the birth date, angel date, a bio, and a picture of their children on the website so that I can honor them on those 2 days. And I almost feel like I'm being pushed out of bed in the morning by the kids because they are so excited to be honored and to have people celebrate them on those days. And I think that that's something that we have a tendency to forget, that because we know that they are still right here, because we know that they are still a part of our lives, they love to be talked about. They love to be honored. They love to, with the holidays coming up, I think that it's really important for people to realize that we need to remember to raise a glass to our beautiful kids, to toast them because they're still right here, maybe even to leave a seat at the table for that loved one with a picture where the plate is, so that people know that they are participating in that event. Although, some families have a hard time with that. It's not something that's necessary to do, but sometimes people love doing it, as well as creating an ornament to be able to put either on a tree or on some other place of significance that has a picture of that child. Those are things that I think help me get through the holidays. And even more importantly, I've always sent a holiday card. I've done so every single year before Morgan passed and after. And every single time that I send that card, I have a picture of the whole family on the front of the card. On the inside of the card, I have a picture of the whole family with Morgan when he was younger, always a different one. And on the back of the card, I just have one picture of Morgan. And I want people to understand, and I think that they do, that he is an integral part of our family, and he always will be. And I think that that's something that is becoming more and more accepted too, for people to continue talking about their loved ones in spirit, in spite of the fact that they might have transitioned 12 years ago, which is the case for Morgan, or 30 years ago, which is the case for Chelsea, to continue having them as a part of our conversation. Because for me and for most people who are in Helping Parents Heal, this lifetime is actually very short. It's just a very small part of the timeline of our lives. And so we're going to be back joined with all of our loved ones very soon. And it will be as though not 1 second has passed. But at the same time, I want to go back on that. And I also want to just say that if you aren't doing all of these things, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's not a problem. I know that lots of people take a lot longer to grieve, a lot longer to be able to process. And time doesn't mean anything to our loved ones in spirit. It's completely different. And they know that all of us are on this healing trajectory. We're all moving towards healing. Some of us get there a little earlier. Some of us get there a little later, but we'll all get there.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased that you brought up the holidays and, give people some ideas and inspiration, but obviously equally that there's no pressure. One of the things actually that was coming up in our group this morning was that, as you said, it's difficult in some families because some people's attitude is like they're gone and it's weird to keep, to lay a place at a table. But if somebody wants to do that, but they're trying to, sort of overcome pleasing other people, is there anything that you might suggest or a little piece of advice for them?
It's so easy because for all of these other people who don't want that place setting at the table, For them, it's one day. For us, it's a whole life. So if they understand that this one special thing, it's just one day that we're asking that of them. But for us, this healing journey is something that goes on our whole life. So I know that it can feel weird. I know that family members are sometimes the hardest people to talk with about our children. And the reason that it's hard to talk to them is not because they've forgotten them, not because they didn't love them as well. It's because, as I've had a family member say, I don't want to talk about Morgan because I love him so much. And whenever I talk about him, it reminds me of him too much. But, I think that it really is important for people who are family members, who are not the mom or the dad, or maybe the sister or brother who have experienced this, to understand that if they don't mention the name of our child, of the one who's passed, doesn't mean that we're going to forget about them, that it's something that we've been able to put out of our minds. We think about them every second of every day. And if we cry a little when we do hear their names spoken, it's not because we are sad, it's because we are so joyful to hear their names. So I think that that's something that's also very important for family members to understand and friends to understand, that the more that you can talk about these loved ones in spirit, the happier we are as parents and siblings and even daughters and sons.
Yeah, and like you said, I think that people's attitude towards grieving and mourning, if you like, is changing, because we can keep our relationship, as I said before, continuous. And that helps, doesn't it? That helps in the healing process, rather than feeling like we have to just put them in a box and forget about them, because that's like storing up all of the sadness.
Well, I think that a lot of people have a tendency to say, without really thinking, you need to move forward with your life. You need to get on with it. And I think that that's one of the most hurtful things that a lot of people hear. But I say that we do need to move forward and heal, but holding our loved ones' hands and walking beside them the whole way. So we're not alone on this journey. They are with us, they are helping us, and they're actually helping us to do almost superhuman things. And I feel that they guide us to do the right things, that they help us to understand that this journey is all about love and compassion. And the more that we can help others by reaching back a hand and pulling them forward, the better our lives are and the more that we heal personally.
And that's a perfect sort of segue for you to share about your I want to say compassionate listeners, but I don't think it was.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to. And caring listeners are a part of our website. So they're on the website. We have 30 caring listeners, men and women from all different backgrounds who are parents who have gone down the healing path just a little bit further and who reach a hand back to help others forward. And everything on our website is free of charge. So of course the caring listeners are as well. Their phone numbers are on the website as well as their emails. We have them in different time zones and we list where they live so that you're able to get in touch with them and not maybe wake them up in the middle of the night. And we're working on getting more in Europe right now so that we'll be able to have more in Europe. We do have caring listeners in Asia as well. But in any case, I think that it's important for people who want to reach out to caring listeners to understand that for the caring listeners to speak to someone and know that they've been able to help them, it helps the caring listener even more than it does the parent. It is such a wonderful feeling to be able to help someone else on this journey. And so no one should ever feel like they're being a burden by reaching out and wanting to speak to someone who's been down this road before and who understands.
I mean, it's amazing that you offer so much. Like, you're also doing the conference too, which sounds like it's taking on to another level entirely. Because I think I heard you say before it was like 500 and now it's 1,000. And then obviously, big numbers are not necessarily like a great thing in the context of what you do, but the community is massive, isn't it? The Helping Parents Heal community.
Well, we do have about 20,000 parents who are part of our Facebook now, and we have affiliates in the United States, in Canada. We have new affiliates in Mexico as well as the UK, as well as South Africa and India and Australia, New Zealand. And so we have a lot of people coming to this conference from other places in the world, which is exciting. And I'm hoping that, everything will be fine with the travel restrictions, because that's been kind of a fear. But so far, we're at 800 parents who have registered. We have space for 1,000. That's going to be a lot of parents. The first time that we had our conference, we had 500, and it was absolutely wonderful. I'm sure it was probably much more intimate than what this conference is going to be, although the conference itself is going to be in such a beautiful location in a resort just south of Phoenix. And I think that because the resort is fairly big and people can, find different places in the resort to get together and speak on the off hours. Obviously, we have so much scheduled, it's going to be hard to find any off time, but it'll be wonderful. We're just so grateful that all of the parents are able to find us through their kids, because for the conference, as for Helping Parents Heal in general, we haven't advertised. We put it on our website, and that's basically it, but we haven't put it anyplace else. And we already have 800 people, and it's next August. So I think we're definitely going to have 1,000 by then, but we don't need 1,000. We just want to be able to make sure that whoever needs to be at the conference is able to be there. And that's the important part.
Yeah, it's so extraordinary, because it seems like a very word of mouth, organic, what's the word? Sort of the way that people find you.
Well, it's because of the kids. And I just have to throw this in because I absolutely adore Irene, and she isn't here, but she's the conference director. And I want to say that before we did our first conference back in 2018, she said to me, after becoming an affiliate leader, Elizabeth, we need to have a conference. It would be such a great thing to do this for the parents. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so much planning and so much work. And usually they lose money, and I just don't know about that. And we did it together, and it was wonderful. And of course, the kids helped us. And this time, again, it's much bigger, and people have been signing up like crazy, which is really, really wonderful. And we're just so thrilled that everybody's going to be there. And again, I know it's the kids who are organizing this, who are doing this for us. So anyway, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, and the proceeds of the book help support the conference. Is that right?
Yes, they do. Actually, every single penny from the sale of the book goes towards helping parents heal. So we are using it for scholarships. We're using it for, there are a lot of other fees that are involved with helping parents heal. The Zoom account, the MailChimp account, our taxes, and all of those different things. It's really wonderful to be able to have this so that we never ever have to ask parents for money or charge for any of the resources that we have on the website. And this will help to do that, which is wonderful. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, and also that this, I've recommended this book also to people, who've lost spouses as well, because it's all about the connection to the spirit world. So it doesn't have to be a book to buy just for people who have lost their children. Yeah. So I wanted to reiterate that. And I wanted to also ask you a personal question, because you're you are a shining light parent, and you had this connection immediately with Morgan. Your story is in this book, and we also talked about it in the previous interview. But when you were in your initial stages of grief, and I know that you're a yoga teacher, was there any thing that you remember, any modality of healing, for example, that you found particularly helpful in those early stages?
Yes, that's a very good question. I was training to be a yoga teacher at the time. I was practicing yoga at least twice a day at the time. And I dropped yoga completely because I realized that if I were to be in Shavasana, it would be a very difficult thing. My mind would probably be going all over the place. And so instead of doing yoga for about a year, I climbed mountains, and I used to have vertigo. I was terrified of any heights at all. I couldn't go on carnival rides. I couldn't do anything like that. And the minute that Morgan passed at the base camp of Mount Everest, and this is Mount Everest behind me, it's one of the last pictures that he took, I had no more vertigo. So my husband and I, sometimes just myself, it depended on if my husband was traveling or not, every single mountain around my house, and there are lots of mountains around here, I went to the top of. And there are lots of buttons that I had made for Morgan's service that are buried at the top of those mountains. But I just want to say that it was kind of my own way of meditation. I felt that I was so in touch with Morgan and even Chelsea as I was hiking, and I could feel them both talking to me. And we now have a bench dedicated to Morgan and Chelsea in the Spur Cross recreation area, which is right behind my house. And we spend hours and hours there. So I think that was my form of healing at the time.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I think that's such a valid point about being in Shavasana, or trying to meditate when you're in the throes of grief. And there are so many ways to meditate, and it's not just sitting on a pillow and staying still. It really is walking up a mountain and swimming in the ocean and all those things as well.
It could even be sweeping a floor. Any type of repetitive motion can allow you to get to that meditative state. And our kids really want to get through to us anyway, but being in those wilderness areas made it very, very easy for me to feel that I was connected to both of them. And I think that it is very important to find whatever it is that makes you feel happy and do it repetitively. There's also forest bathing. We don't have forests here where I live, so there's no forest bathing for me, but up north it's possible. There are all different, there's sound meditation. That's something that is very healing to a lot of people. I also became a Reiki practitioner. I did 4 different levels of Reiki to be able to heal myself, but also to heal others. And I think that that's another good way for people to be able to be in touch with their healing power and being able to understand how this can work in our own bodies, but also with others.
That is so wonderful, Elizabeth. So many pearls of wisdom that you're sharing with us. Thank you. And I will check the time. I think we're nearly at time, but is there any other things that you would like to share before we wrap up?
Well, I just want to tell you, thank you for having me. I just appreciate it so much, and having so much love for helping parents heal. I feel so grateful to everyone that I've met along the way. And I feel that you were brought into my life, of course, by the kids, just as everyone is. And I do want everyone on here to understand that Helping Parents Heal truly believes that it is possible to heal from the passing of a child or a loved one. And the reason that it is possible is because of the fact that our kids in spirit, or our loved ones in spirit, want us to heal. They want us to move forward and to experience joy again. They're our biggest cheerleaders. They hold our hands as we go forward. And it's as though a sheet of wax paper separates us from them. Again, everybody's grief timeline or healing timeline is different. And so nobody should feel that they aren't doing the right thing if it's taking longer, but everyone is going to get there. And I feel like this is something that's very important to my journey, that I get everyone there who wants to get there. At some point, that's my main goal in life, is to make sure that everybody feels happy, healthy, and whole, just as our kids are. And once we get over there to see them, it's going to be an incredible reunion. I can't wait to hug every single one of these kids. But thank you for asking. And yes, I just feel like this is something that is within all of our capabilities.
Actually, I have one other question. Have you ever had any feedback, if you like, from Morgan and Chelsea about things that they miss about being in the human dimension?
I don't think that kids are able to miss anything, because they can hug us. They can feel that hug, even if we aren't feeling it. Although I'm very fortunate, because I do feel the hug that Morgan gives me. They are able to participate in everything that we're doing with them. I think that, yes, maybe they regret seeing their parents sad, but it's not the same kind of sadness that we have. They're just working so hard from the other side to make sure that we get to the point where we are happy, healthy, and whole. But I truly don't believe that our loved ones in spirit are regretting anything. I think that they see the whole picture once they get over there. They understand why everything's happened. They understand that they're going to see us very soon in the physical, like we're going to be able to actually hug them soon, because time doesn't exist over there. So I guess that's my answer.
Sometimes I think, I wonder if they miss certain foods or tastes or things like that. But yeah, that's just my...
Well, as the holidays are coming up, this is another thing that I think is important to understand. They taste food through us. So I like to always make my kids' favorite foods. to make sure that they are being able to taste all of those foods with us. So everything that we experience, they get to experience through us. So just remember that they're not going to miss anything, and they are so proud of us, just as we are proud of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect place to finish, Elizabeth. Again, it's just such a joy sitting with you and being with you, and thank you again.
Thank you, Tara. This has been so wonderful, and it's always wonderful to see you, and hopefully I'll get to see you in London sometime soon.
That would be magical. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and see you soon.